the unexpected encounter, the research vessel Horizon's Edge drifted silently through the cosmic void. Her sensors focused on the ancient neutron star that pulsed with mysterious energy patterns. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge, watching the stellar phenomenon with the same wonder she had felt during her first deep space mission 20 years ago. The ship hummed with quiet efficiency as her crew of 97 souls went about their scientific work, cataloging discoveries that would advance human understanding of the universe. Dr. Marcus Chen emerged from the main laboratory, his face bright with excitement as he approached the captain's station. His team had been analyzing the neutron star's unusual electromagnetic emissions for 3 weeks, and their findings promised to revolutionize stellar physics. Alina had handpicked Chen for this mission because of his brilliant mind and his ability to see patterns where others saw only chaos. "Captain, we have made an incredible breakthrough," Chen said, his voice barely containing his enthusiasm. "The neutron star is not just emitting random pulses. There is a mathematical sequence embedded in the radiation patterns. It might be evidence of ancient technology, possibly from a civilization that existed millions of years ago." Alina felt her pulse quicken at the implications. First contact with alien life had always been humanity's greatest dream, even if that contact came in the form of archaeological evidence from long-dead civilizations. She was about to respond when Lieutenant Sarah Park called out from the tactical station, her voice carrying the sharp edge of military training. "Captain, we have multiple contacts appearing on long-range sensors. Unknown vessels dropping out of what appears to be faster-than-light travel. 12 ships in formation, bearing directly toward our position." Park's fingers moved swiftly across her console as she tried to gather more information about the unexpected arrivals. Alina moved to the central command station, her scientific excitement instantly replaced by the focused alertness of a former military officer. 20 years of deep space exploration had taught her that first contact scenarios could go wrong in countless ways, and she had drilled her crew extensively in proper protocols. "Analysis, Lieutenant. What are we looking at?" Alina asked while studying the tactical display that showed the approaching alien fleet. Each vessel appeared massive compared to the Horizon's Edge, with designs unlike anything in human databases. Park ran her scans multiple times before responding, her expression growing more concerned with each reading. "The ships are using technology we do not recognize. Captain, energy signatures are off our measurement scales. The smallest vessel appears to be 3 times our size, and they are all accelerating toward us at speeds that should be impossible for ships that large." Communications Officer Alex Rivera looked up from his station with confusion written across his face. "Captain, I am receiving transmissions from the alien fleet, but the language patterns are unlike anything in our xenolinguistic databases. The computer is attempting to decode their communications, but initial analysis suggests these are not friendly first contact protocols." Alina felt the familiar weight of command settle on her shoulders as she realized their peaceful scientific mission had just become something far more dangerous. She had hoped that humanity's first contact with living aliens would be a moment of wonder and mutual discovery, but the tactical situation suggested otherwise. "Red alert, all hands to stations," Alina announced over the ship's intercom system. Throughout the Horizon's Edge, crew members abandoned their research projects and moved to emergency positions. They had practiced countless times, but never expected to use in actual combat. "Engineer," Tom Bradley's voice crackled over the communication system from the engine room. "Captain, I am detecting massive energy buildup from the alien vessels. Whatever they are preparing to do, it requires more power than our entire ship generates in a week. The main view screen flickered to life, showing the alien fleet in all its terrifying beauty. The ships appeared to be constructed from some kind of living metal that shifted and flowed like liquid mercury. Each vessel bristled with weapon systems that pulsed with menacing energy, and their formations suggested military precision developed over centuries of conquest. Rivera suddenly straightened at his station, his face pale with shock. "Captain, the translation matrix has decoded part of their transmission stream. They are identifying themselves as the Zephyrian Dominion, and they are discussing us as if we were some kind of inferior life form to be captured and studied." Alina exchanged glances with her senior officers, all of whom had served with her long enough to read the dangerous situation developing around them. The aliens had not attempted any form of diplomatic contact, and their casual discussion of capture suggested they viewed humans as nothing more than primitive specimens. "Open a channel, Rivera. Let us see if we can establish peaceful communication," Alina ordered, though she motioned for Park to keep all defensive systems ready for immediate activation. The main screen shifted to show the interior of an alien command bridge that looked more like a work of art than a military vessel. The being that appeared before them stood nearly 3 meters tall, with crystalline skin that reflected light in mesmerizing patterns. Its 4 arms moved with fluid grace as it manipulated controls that seemed to respond to thought rather than touch. "Primitive creatures," the alien spoke, its voice translated by the ship's computer into cold, arrogant tones. "I am Fleet Commander HFY of the Zephyrian Dominion. Your pathetic vessel has wandered into space, claimed by our empire. Your species appears to be in the early stages of stellar expansion, making you suitable for enslavement and experimentation." Alina felt anger rise in her chest at the casual dismissal of human worth, but she maintained her diplomatic composure. "Commander HFY, I am Captain Alina Rodriguez of the human exploration vessel Horizon's Edge. We are peaceful researchers studying natural phenomena in this region. We mean no harm to your empire and request safe passage to continue our scientific mission." The alien commander made a sound that the translator rendered as contemptuous laughter. "Your crude technology and primitive understanding mark your species as unworthy of the stars. You will surrender immediately and prepare to be boarded. Your crew will serve as slaves in our laboratories, and your vessel will be added to our collection of conquered ships." Dr. Chen stepped forward, his scientist's curiosity overcoming his fear. "Commander, we are explorers and researchers, not warriors. Surely our knowledge could be more valuable to your empire than our enslavement. We have made significant discoveries about stellar phenomena that might interest your people." HFY's crystalline features shifted in what might have been amusement. "Your primitive science holds no interest for the Dominion. We have mastered technologies your species will not develop for thousands of years. You exist only to serve your betters, and resistance will result in your immediate destruction." Alina realized that diplomatic solutions were impossible with beings who viewed humans as nothing more than talking animals. She had hoped for peaceful first contact, but the Zephyrians had already decided humanity's fate, based on assumptions about human weakness and technological inferiority. "All ships, assume attack formation." HFY commanded his fleet. "Disable the primitive vessels, engines, and life support systems. Leave enough survivors for adequate test subjects, but eliminate any who show resistance." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge of the Horizon's Edge in tense silence as everyone processed what they had just experienced. Alina looked around at her crew, seeing fear in some faces, but also determination in others. These were scientists and explorers, not soldiers, but they were also human beings who would not surrender their freedom without a fight. Battle stations. All hands prepare for combat, Alina announced with steel in her voice. Park, what do our defensive systems look like? The tactical officer ran through her weapons inventory with professional efficiency. We have basic defensive shields, 2 laser batteries designed for asteroid clearance, and a complement of mining charges that could be repurposed as weapons. Against ships that advanced, Captain, we are severely outgunned. Bradley's voice came over the intercom from engineering. Captain, I can reroute power from non-essential systems to strengthen our shields. But those alien energy readings suggest they could overwhelm our defenses with a single concentrated attack. Alina nodded grimly as she studied the tactical situation. The Horizon's Edge had never been designed for combat against advanced alien warships. But her crew had something the Zephyrians did not expect: human ingenuity and the refusal to surrender. In the face of overwhelming odds, the first alien energy beam struck their shields with devastating force, sending vibrations through the entire ship as lights flickered and crew members grabbed nearby supports. The attack had been precisely calculated to disable rather than destroy, demonstrating the aliens' confidence in their overwhelming technological superiority. Shields down to 40% from one hit, Park reported with alarm in her voice. Captain, they could have destroyed us with that shot, but they held back. They want us alive for whatever experiments they have planned. Alina felt something cold and dangerous settle in her chest as she realized the full arrogance of their attackers. The Zephyrians saw humans as primitive animals to be captured and studied, never imagining that their presumed prey might possess qualities that advanced technology could not measure or predict. The Reckoning. The second Zephyrian energy blast struck the Horizon's Edge with surgical precision, disabling the main engines and leaving the research vessel dead in space. Emergency lighting bathed the corridors in red as Alina felt her ship dying around her. But her crew was already moving with the efficiency that came from months of emergency, drills and years of working together in the dangerous environment of deep space. Engines are completely offline, Captain, Bradley reported from engineering, his hands flying over control panels as he tried to maintain life support systems. I can give you limited maneuvering thrusters and basic power, but we are not going anywhere under our own power. Alina watched the tactical display as 3 Zephyrian vessels moved into boarding positions around her crippled ship. The aliens had executed their attack with the casual efficiency of a species that had conquered countless other civilizations, never imagining they might encounter resistance from what they considered primitive technology. Boarding pods launching. From all 3 vessels, Park announced from her tactical station, multiple breach points incoming. They will be cutting through our hull in less than 3 minutes. Dr. Chen looked up from his science station where he had been frantically analyzing captured alien transmissions. Captain, I have been monitoring their communications during the attack. They are discussing us like specimens in a laboratory. The boarding parties have orders to capture as many live humans as possible for biological research. Alina felt her jaw clench as she realized the full horror of what the Zephyrians planned for her crew. These aliens viewed humans as nothing more than interesting animals to be dissected and studied, completely unable to comprehend that they were dealing with a species capable of extraordinary adaptation and determination. All hands, this is the Captain Alina, announced over the ship's intercom system. "We are about to be boarded by aliens who think we are weak and helpless. They have made a serious mistake. Prepare to show them what happens when you underestimate human beings." Rivera called out from his communications station with excitement in his voice. "Captain, I have been analyzing the alien technology signatures. Their equipment appears to be completely automated and computer-controlled. If we could find a way to interfere with their control systems, we might be able to turn their own technology against them." Engineer Bradley's voice came over the intercom. From the engine room, "Captain, I have an idea. Our research equipment includes several high-powered particle accelerators and electromagnetic field generators. If we could reconfigure them, we might be able to create interference patterns that could disrupt alien electronics." Alina smiled grimly as she realized her crew of scientists and researchers was already thinking like guerrilla fighters. The Zephyrians expected to face primitive weapons and simple resistance, but they were about to encounter something far more dangerous: human creativity applied to warfare. The first boarding pod attached to the ship's hull with a metallic clang that echoed through the corridors. Alina could hear cutting tools beginning to work on the outer hull as the aliens prepared to force their way inside. Confident in their overwhelming technological advantage, 30 seconds until hull breach in Section 12, Park announced over the communication system. "All defensive teams, take positions." Alina reached the main corridor just as the alien cutting beam finished its work. A section of hull fell inward with a crash, and atmospheric containment fields activated to prevent catastrophic decompression. Through the smoking breach came the first Zephyrian warrior, and Alina got her first close look at humanity's new enemy. The alien stood nearly 3 meters tall, its crystalline skin reflecting the emergency lighting in prismatic patterns. War armor that seemed to be grown rather than manufactured, and its weapons hummed with energy that made the air itself seem to vibrate. Behind it came more warriors, all moving with the fluid confidence of beings who had never faced serious resistance. Dr. Chen had positioned himself at a portable control station in the corridor, his hands moving rapidly over jury-rigged controls, connected to the ship's scientific equipment. "Now, Captain," he whispered into his communicator. The corridor suddenly filled with a hype-edged whine as Chen activated the modified particle accelerator. The beam struck the lead Zephyrian warriors' armor, and instead of the expected minimal effect, the aliens' protective systems began to spark and fail. The warrior stumbled, its weapons systems offline and its movements suddenly clumsy and uncoordinated. Alina had positioned her crew in concealed positions throughout the corridor, using their intimate knowledge of the ship's layout to create ambush points the aliens could not anticipate. When the Zephyrian technology began failing, human crew members opened fire with improvised weapons created from mining equipment and laboratory tools. The elegant alien warriors found themselves facing an enemy that fought with tactics completely outside their experience. Maintenance tunnels became sniper positions, scientific equipment became weapons, and every system on the ship became a potential trap for the boarding parties. Lieutenant Park had converted the ship's gravity generators into localized weapons, creating fields of crushing force that pinned alien warriors to walls or floors while human defenders attacked from multiple directions. The Zephyrians' advanced weapons were designed for open combat against conventional military forces, not close quarters fighting in narrow corridors against opponents who used every advantage available to them. "Section 12 is secure," Park reported with fierce satisfaction in her voice. "But we have multiple breach points throughout the ship. The aliens are learning from their mistakes and adapting their tactics. Alina moved through the ship with a small team of crew members, fighting wherever the aliens made progress. At Section 7, she found Bradley working frantically to convert the ship's main laboratory into a defensive position while Dr. Chen analyzed captured alien equipment. "Marcus, what can you tell me about their technology?" Alina asked while checking her improvised weapon and preparing to move to the next battle. Chen held up a piece of damaged alien hardware, his face bright with discovery despite the danger surrounding them. "Their technology is incredibly advanced, Captain, but it has a critical weakness. Everything is controlled by quantum computers that rely on perfect environmental conditions. If we can create enough electromagnetic interference, their equipment becomes unreliable." Bradley looked up from his work with excitement. "Captain, I have been thinking about what Marcus discovered. Our research equipment generates massive amounts of electromagnetic radiation when we study stellar phenomena. If I could overload our sensors and focus all that energy into a concentrated pulse, we might be able to disable every piece of alien technology on the ship." Alina felt hope rise in her chest as she realized her crew had found a way to turn their scientific mission into a weapon against their attackers. The Zephyrians had assumed human technology was primitive and harmless, never imagining that research equipment could be more dangerous than conventional weapons when used creatively. "How long do you need, Tom?" Alina asked, while explosions echoed from another part of the ship where Park was leading a fierce defense against a new wave of boarders. "Give me 5 minutes and I can turn our entire sensor array into an electromagnetic pulse weapon," Bradley replied, while his hands flew over control panels. "But I need the aliens to stay close to the ship when I activate it." Alina smiled with grim satisfaction as she realized the perfect irony of their situation. The Z had disabled the human ship to prevent escape, trapping themselves close to their victims. Now that trap would become their doom. All teams fall back to defensive positions around the main laboratory, Alina announced over the communication system. "We are going to show these aliens what human science can do when it gets angry." The battle raged through the corridors of the horizon's edge as human crew members proved that advanced technology meant nothing without the wisdom and determination to use it effectively. Janitors became combat engineers, turning maintenance equipment into weapons. Cooks created improvised explosives from kitchen chemicals. Even the ship's doctor joined the fight, using medical knowledge to create non-lethal but incredibly effective chemical weapons from the ship's pharmaceutical supplies. Fleet Commander Vexai watched the boarding action from his flagship with growing confusion and anger. What should have been a simple capture operation was turning into a prolonged battle with casualties mounting among his elite warriors. The humans were supposed to surrender quickly when faced with superior Zephyrian technology, but instead they fought with tactics his forces had never encountered. "Report," Vexai demanded from his tactical officer, his crystalline features reflecting his growing frustration. "The humans are resisting more effectively than any species we have previously encountered," came the worried reply. "They use their primitive technology in ways we did not anticipate, and they fight with coordination that suggests extensive combat experience. Our boarding parties are making progress, but slowly." Vexai felt his pride wounded by the suggestion that primitive humans could effectively resist the might of the Dominion. These creatures dare to defy the Zephyrian Empire. Send additional troops and end this embarrassment immediately. But Alina Rodriguez was not finished showing the aliens what humans could accomplish when their backs were against the wall. Bradley worked with desperate speed in the main laboratory while weapons fire echoed through the ship around him. His hands moved across control panels with practiced precision as he prepared the most dangerous scientific experiment of his career. "Captain, I am ready to activate the electromagnetic pulse," Bradley announced over the communication system while sweat dripped down his face. "All personnel need to move away from any alien equipment they might be carrying. This could affect their weapons and armor in unpredictable ways." Elena's voice crackled back through the static of battle. "All teams, fall back from any captured alien equipment immediately. Tom, you have 30 seconds, then activate your pulse." Park heard the order and shouted to the human defenders who were locked in fierce combat with Zephyrian warriors throughout the ship. "Everyone back now. Drop any alien weapons you picked up and get clear." The human fighters pulled back just as Bradley activated his improvised electromagnetic weapon. The Horizon's Edge's entire sensor array discharged in a single, massive pulse of energy that swept through the ship and the surrounding space like an invisible storm. The effect on the Zephyrian technology was immediate and catastrophic. Every piece of alien equipment suddenly failed as quantum computers crashed and control systems went offline. Weapons stopped firing, armor systems failed, and even the aliens. Boarding pods lost power and began drifting away from the ship. Elena watched through the ship's external cameras as the 3 Zephyrian vessels that had been coordinating the boarding operation suddenly found themselves dead in space, their crews struggling to restore power to critical systems. The electromagnetic pulse had affected every piece of alien technology within range, proving that sometimes primitive science could be more effective than advanced engineering. The remaining Zephyrian warriors aboard the Horizon's Edge found themselves trapped with no weapons, no armor, and no way to communicate with their ships. Human crew members surrounded them with improvised weapons, and for the first time in the battle, the aliens looked afraid. Fleet Commander Vex-High stared at his dead control panels in shock and disbelief. His mighty fleet, capable of conquering entire star systems, had been disabled by what he had dismissed as primitive human technology. The electromagnetic pulse had proven that the Zephyrians' greatest strength was also their greatest weakness: complete dependence on advanced computer systems. "All ships, report status," Vex-High ordered, but his communication systems remained offline. Around him, his crew worked frantically to restore basic ship functions while trying to understand how their supposedly inferior enemies had achieved such a devastating victory. Elena stood on the bridge of her damaged ship, looking at the alien warriors who had surrendered rather than face certain death at the hands of humans they had underestimated. Outside, the Zephyrian fleet drifted helplessly while their crews struggled to repair systems that had been designed never to fail. "Captain," Rivera called out from his communication station, "I am receiving transmissions from the alien fleet. They are requesting permission to retrieve their boarding parties and withdraw from the area." Elena smiled as she realized the full extent of their victory. The Zephyrians had come expecting to capture primitive humans for experimentation, but instead they had learned a lesson about the dangers of underestimating an opponent. Human ingenuity and determination had proven more valuable than any advanced technology. "Open a channel to Fleet Commander Vex-High," Elena ordered. When the alien's image appeared on the main screen, she could see fear and newfound respect in his crystalline features. "Commander, your boarding parties will be returned unharmed to your ships," Elena announced with dignity. "But I suggest you reconsider your assumptions about human capabilities before attacking any other research vessels." Vex-High bowed his head in what the translator indicated was a gesture of respect. Captain Rodriguez, the Zephyrian Dominion has underestimated your species. We withdraw from this system and will ensure that human ships are granted safe passage through our territory. As the alien fleet limped away to repair their damaged systems, Alina looked around at her crew with pride. They had faced impossible odds and emerged victorious, not through superior firepower, but through the human qualities that no amount of advanced technology could replicate: creativity, adaptability, and the refusal to surrender in the face of overwhelming force. The Horizon's Edge had been crippled in the battle, but her crew had proven something far more important than any scientific discovery. They had shown the galaxy that humanity was not a species to be underestimated, and that sometimes the greatest strength came not from advanced weapons, but from the determination to use whatever tools were available to protect what mattered most. Asterisk.